In this video, I'm going to go over what to include in your invitation portfolio. Now, I know this is kind of an outdated term because we're not carrying around a literal art portfolio, but I think it's important to consider these things when showcasing your work online, in person, in a sample kit, etc. So let's dive in. So the first thing I would say is I definitely want you to have some printed work that's photographed in your portfolio. Not only does this give you a physical portfolio if you ever need it, but mockups can only take you so far. Sometimes people can tell they're mockups, even if you're really, really good at mockups and they can't be immediately spotted as mockups. It's still going to give you a lot of information when you start printing your work, and it's going to give you a different appreciation for how this works. A lot of printing mistakes that I see designers make when they're starting out are actually design mistakes. So I want you to get that experience printing first. And then it's also a good thing to have those printed samples to learn how to take photos of them, to learn how to capture the beautiful things about them, and to be able to show them to clients or wedding planners, etc. in person. So definitely mockups are okay sometimes, but definitely you want to have at least 5 to 10 printed versions of your designs. I have a few printers that have a minimum quantity of 10 for printing, so you don't need to invest too much into this. With about $250, maybe $300, you can get a good sample set of your designs to see how they print and learn how the printers are going to handle your work. I literally cannot stress to you how important it is to actually print out your work when you're starting, because you'd much rather mess up on a sample for your portfolio than you would for an actual job down the line if you don't have a lot of experience printing. The next thing you should consider is that all of your portfolio images should show what a client is going to expect. So if you want all of your clients to be into embellishments like vintage postage, wax seals, etc., then you need to be showing these in your portfolio. And if you're going to include something in kind of your base pricing, your base standard suite, then you should be showing this in your portfolio. When people reach out to you for info and pricing, and then they get started on the design process, they're going to be expecting to see things similar to what they've already seen in your portfolio. So even if you don't have a lot of clients that are paying for those big embellishments and things, if that's part of your style and part of what you want to be offering, go ahead and start adding those things to your portfolio images. And kind of similar to that is don't only show the very highest end of what you plan to offer if you're still going to take clients that have less than that. So if you have something that would be like a $10,000 suite, but you have a client reach out with a $2,500 budget, are they going to be disappointed because everything they see in your portfolio is $10,000, but your minimum on your website said $2,500? So kind of try and make sure that what's in your portfolio is matching around the average. Of course, there can be some higher and lower price suites, that kind of thing, but make sure it's matching the expectations that you're giving your clients. I feel like I shouldn't even have to say this, but your portfolio should highlight your specific abilities and style. We have some exercises in stationery school that will help you develop your style if that's something that you haven't really done yet. But I think that showing those things as a big piece, like if you're only going to be printing 5-7 suites to start out for your portfolio, make sure they're really stand out. Make sure if you're a really excellent watercolor painter or calligrapher, or if you specialize in funky type design, these are things that are showcased in those portfolio pieces, because again, it's setting a clear expectation of what the client's going to get, but it's also helping them to opt into your style. It's showing off the things that they can't get anywhere else that they really especially want to hire you for. And then lastly, I would recommend showcasing any sort of print methods that you want to offer, kind of a variety. If you only want to be a digital printer, great, just show digital work. But if you also want to offer letterpress and foil, it's a good idea to get some of those designs for your portfolio. It is a bit of a higher investment, but I think it will pay off if you want to start doing work with those print methods. Similar with embellishments, if you want to start working with wax seals, show wax seals, because clients are not going to ask for things that they've never seen before in your work in most cases. Clients kind of need to be given an example of what you can do, and then they're going to say, oh, I want that, versus seeing something and asking you to completely do something totally different. So in most cases, the more that you can showcase the things that you want to be doing, the more you're going to get hired for those things. I also think that it's impossible to have samples of literally every type of thing shown in your portfolio, and you might not be ready to make an investment in like a sculpted embossed suite, a foil suite, a single level foiled, embossed, die cut, whatever suite. So have some samples of these print methods on the back end that are maybe not your designs. You can typically get these from printers. You can say, hey, I'd love to see what sculpted embossing looks like. They can send you a couple samples of that so that if a client ever asks for it, you can show them a picture, but we're not going to include that in our portfolio because it's not your design. So you have an example of what that print method is going to look like, how the paper is going to feel. It's kind of the same thing as having samples of all the different envelope colors, even if you haven't really photographed and designed a suite that has every single possible envelope color. So you have some of the samples on the back end of the print methods, the paper types, the envelope colors, the velvet ribbons, the wax seal colors, etc. And you're able to show those to clients or wedding planners, etc., when they need more information. So that's where you can kind of say, here's a letterpress suite that I designed. This is what it's going to look like. And then we want to do it maybe on this paper instead, or instead we're going to use foil stamping. So here's an example of foil stamping. Here's some letterpress that I designed. We're going to kind of combine those. And that's where the clients can start using their imagination a little bit to understand, like, you can do this type of design, but we're going to use this type of print method, and that's what it's going to feel like. So there's a little bit of imagination they can use. You don't have to have a literal example of every single style of design in every single print method, but you want to have some things on the back end that you can show them so that they understand how things are going to work, how things are going to feel, what colors are going to look like, etc. So overall, when putting together your portfolio, think about setting a really clear expectation for your client. Think about dreaming a little bit, maybe 1 or 2 steps ahead of where you currently are. So if you only have clients that are doing digital printing right now, but you want to do letterpress printing, maybe you can showcase one of their designs, but you can do it in letterpress printing, or if you want to add a ribbon or wax seal just to make it look a little bit more embellished, that's totally okay to do in your portfolio. And then also just kind of thinking of those unique things that make you different from other designers, any of your specific abilities or your specific style that's going to help people very clearly say, oh, that's the designer I want to work with. Anything that you can come up with there is definitely something to showcase very heavily in your portfolio. And one question a lot of people ask me is if they should only have styled images from professional photographers in their portfolio. Personally, I think that if you can empower yourself to take some of your own images, you're going to give yourself a lot more flexibility, because every photographer is going to have their own style. They may or may not style your pieces well. They may have different colors, different lighting, etc. And if you mash all of those together on your website, it might look a little bit confusing and not cohesive. So then your other option is to every once in a while hire a photographer. That can take a long time. You have to accumulate a bunch of suites and then send them out and pay for them. So I think if you can learn how to do some of that yourself, then you can really empower yourself to create a portfolio that's more cohesive and flexible. I love being able to take decent images of my suites right before they head out the door and add those to my portfolio if I need to. If you're in the really high-end luxury market, then people are going to expect, it's all about that expectation. People are going to expect to see more styled, more professional, better lighting, better editing, etc. on your photos. So in that case, you might want to partner up with a local photographer or someone who can kind of regularly take pictures for you so they all feel cohesive. But I don't think it's impossible at all to learn how to take those photos. We have a whole flat lay styling class in stationery school that you should definitely check out. So if you don't want to be beholden to the photographers and their timelines and you want to go ahead and get some work out there, then definitely learning more about flat lay styling and being able to take some of those photos yourself will give you a lot of flexibility there. And my very last point is to make sure you update, like don't leave the gallery page on your website the same for 3 or 4 years, like a lot of us are wont to do. So make a point every 6 months to a year to just go in and make sure you are changing the portfolio so it reflects your current abilities and your current style. Hope this was helpful in putting together your invitation portfolio. I can't wait to see what you come up with. Let me know what questions you have in the comments.